Hey everybody, Bruce here with BK Industrial Coating. We've got this Quadtrac 620 over here that we're going to spend a couple days installing a raw ceramic coating on it. We'll walk you through the process of paint decontamination and rinse and wash techniques and polishing, whether it be with a rotary or an orbital, and then prep and ceramic coat and show you all the surfaces that we attack on this thing. We're going to start out just by looking at the paint. And under this light, it looks like it's all good. We put white light on it, and we see that there is acid etching along the paint. And then this frame rail down here has got an overly kind of matte appearance, almost like a satin appearance. We know that this is supposed to be a gloss, and so we're gonna turn that back into gloss. And then this customer has opted to go through extenuous effort in cleaning this before we get here, so we're able to coat a lot more just because we have the time to be able to do it. So we're going to do underneath these fenders, and we'll do the major components of the track frame assembly right here. Moving on down the side of the tractor, we've got the cab, which already looks pretty good, but you can see some water, some mineral deposits and staining on the glass. That'll all have to come up. And then the cloudiness that you see is a little bit of oxidation. It's really not a whole lot for being a red tractor. See if we can get a little closer and show it better. So there's a little bit of cloudiness robbing clarity. We're going to take care of that. Same with fairly clean articulation. So we're going to be able to airbrush and ceramic coat all that once we get it properly prepped. Fenders on this are good. The rear fenders look good. There's a little bit more of the staining, acid etching on this flat face here like we saw on the hood, but otherwise it's clean. It's a clean tractor. We're going to take care of those those are going to look like scuff marks. Kind of presents similarly to acid etching, but we know that's kind of a contact abrasion surface between the track and the inside steel of the fender, and whether it be part acid etching or if it's scuff or abrasion, we'll take it off. And then we'll do the same thing here, polish out this whole back end, but we'll also prep this whole hydraulic coupler assembly, and all of that will get airbrushed with ceramic too, so that can be cleaned off and look nice and shiny for years. Not a carbon copy mirror of the other side, because we've got a different stair assembly, which we have already unbolted, so that allows us to get into all of this, in which we have a hard time doing otherwise. You can see a lot more clearly the satin look of this frame rail, which should be gloss. It should be glossier. Wouldn't call it a mirror shine, but it does get glossy. And these headlights are pretty good. Normally, a lot of times on the case tractors, we get pretty cloudy headlights. Should they have been cloudy, we can take that off. At least anything contributing to the cloudiness on the outside of the lens. Obviously, we can't take apart and do the inside of the lens, but they always make it look better from the outside. I'll have to get up on the tractor to show you the top of the hood view. And there is the top of the hood. We've got some bogeys in them. There we go. Pull up some of it with the camera. We expect all this kind of staining to come out. This tractor I think this is a 2021. It's stored inside some of the time. Shed space just doesn't account for all the time, but large portion of it stored inside. We've got some oxidation. You can see the cloudiness in the lens here, all that kind of like milky appearance that's over the red. That'd be the oxidation, and maybe a little bit of an environmental film that's on it, which we'll cut through all that. when I'm wiping off compound, especially when I'm dry wiping and I'm not wet wiping, especially when you're dry wiping any sort of painted surface, it doesn't have to be tractor, it could be semis, automotive, anything that's got paint on it like that. You don't really want to hold any more pressure than what it takes to hold the towel to the paint. So I'm not pushing hard when I do this. And if you haven't already, I would recommend just everyone get away from the practice of doing this. You need to do this. Less pressure, and if you need to, more wipes. Well, that looks good. That looks good for your one-step polish. You can't do this with every compound. There's a few out there you can. The Roar Ag compound is the one that we use just because it's got no oils or fillers in it. It is true polishing and paint correction. We can't mask defects before we go to ceramic coat over it. The ceramic coating won't bond to the paint. It'll bond, essentially it won't bond to whatever there's oil or any kind of like hydrocarbon solvent fillers in it. These are typically the things that stain your plastics when you're polishing around like trim moldings that stain it this weird white. That's why wax stains so bad on plastics, because wax is just all filler. That's all it is a filler. Polishes, I can't quantify it, but way above 90%, like 99.5%, whatever. There's only a few polishes out there that don't have hydrocarbon solvent fillers in them. Roar Ag compound is one of them. We use it. It was designed for agriculture single stage paint, so it's the best out there. It finishes down beautifully. This compound, this cut, finishes out just as well as it would have if I would have went with the 2-stage with another system. So this is kind of why we preference it. And then we also want to make sure that we don't go through all this work to then apply a ceramic coating over a bunch of fillers, which is going to cause coating failure within a couple months. And I'm sorry that some of you guys have probably had to deal with coating failures where you had a ceramic coating that lasted 2 months instead of however many years that you were told. And it's largely because they probably used, one, a polish that had fillers in it, as over 99% of them do, or their prep process wasn't on point. If your prep process isn't on point to get rid of whatever contaminants are on the paint, your ceramic coating job might look spectacular when you give them back their piece of equipment or their vehicle, but it's got a time clock of a couple months on it. The coating won't last. You'll have a coating failure. Hopefully, my experience can help someone else do a better job themselves. So we've come up to the track and frame assembly on the front of this tractor. Can't really show you a lot of this because it's really hard to shoot. But you see we take the polishing all the way down the frame rail. And then on the underside of the fenders as well, and still see there's all the polishing compound is still there. But we go all the way back, we go all the way down. If you don't, you're going to end up with a polished line that's right at that track line, which you may not see from looking at it straight on, but at any kind of angle, you'll see it. Same with the front as well. Take it all the way down to the lower extent of the frame. And then I've stopped my polish line right at this track. I'll try and capture a little bit right here. I think I might be able to set the camera up to do it. Have a sneak peek before we start spot checking. If you remember, this frame had a satin appearance to it. It's supposed to be gloss. Here's kind of a before and after, because you just watched us do half of it. So we've got, that's what it looked like before, and then this is after polishing. You can still see a little bit of scratching that's still in there. A lot of defects won't come out, but we can make it look universally better. I stress to never say perfect, right? This side of the cross, nothing is perfect. If someone promises you a perfect, flawless job on your paint for your tractor, I would almost say be wary. Ask more questions. It might be a sign that they haven't done too many of them. Got the tar out of there, and some of the cloudiness that you see right now is going to be leftover polishing residue. I kind of half-heartedly wiped it, and that's the way it'll sit now until we do a final wet wipe with rinseless to pull everything off, and then we'll prep, and then we'll do a prep spray. That is it. Hey guys, so after 3 days, this Quadtrac, this Case IH Quadtrac 620 is done. It took me about 34 hours to complete. Yeah, 2 12s in a 10-hour day. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work involved in doing one of these right. So we polished, prepped, and ceramic coated everything that you would typically expect one to do, all the reds. But part of the polish stage, can't really see it in this video, but parts of the video you'll see where we have polished behind these tracks, the frame. The frame on these cases are supposed to be gloss black. Most of the time, by the time we get them, they're matte, they've oxidized a little. So we've carried the polish back to the frame, but all the way down to the lower ends of the frame as well. So you won't see that, the polish line that ends right at the track. Same with anything black over here in the articulation. Everything in here got polished as well as coated. We used an airbrush and also by hand. So we hit the areas by hand that we can, and then we go over it with an airbrush as well. The back fenders, same, all got polished and prepped and ceramic coated, and all of the larger flat surfaces on here, we completed the ceramic coating by hand. And then we went back over it with the airbrush to airbrush all of the seams with welds on them, because again, I said in other videos, when you go to ceramic coat over a weld that's got a hummocky topography to it, you're gonna ceramic the peaks and not the valleys of the weld itself. So we'll airbrush on that weld, because it seems to be where paint fails the first out of most spots, is you'll see areas of missing paint on the welds and then rust forming on the weld. So we want to make sure that that weld is coated really well. So we airbrush all of the welds all over, regardless if we applied by hand in that area or not. And then we also went to the main track frame assemblies and ceramic coated all that by hand, but then went through and sprayed on all the roller wheels as well, because those you really can't do by hand very effectively, but you can by spray.